Remember Snowball, the dog who left Earth promising to build a better society? Well, he finally came back. And it turns out he became the very thing he once swore to destroy. The episode opens with Jerry completely on edge. Ever since he stopped working, his family no longer mocks him for being unemployed. So in his mind, there are only two possible outcomes. Either they start making fun of him again, or they resort to Space Beth's famous solution. Her idea involves taking a space worm that crawls inside a person's body and literally eats away all their worries before dying a few hours later. Jerry, however, has absolutely no interest in trying something that bizarre, especially at the breakfast table. Things take a turn when Rick hears the word drug. Without a second thought, he's immediately interested in trying it before heading out with Morty to visit an old friend. Jerry quickly shuts that down and makes it clear that nobody is taking strange substances inside his house. Eventually, Jerry admits that the real source of his anxiety is an upcoming job interview. But to Rick, that doesn't even qualify as an actual problem. After all, nobody is forcing him to get a job.
Trying to neg me into taking a worm, you've succeeded. Negging works.
See you all in a week!
Not giving it another thought, Rick takes Morty to the garage so he can reunite with his old pet, Snowball. Snowball was Morty's dog back in Lawnmower Dog, the classic episode from the first season of Rick and Morty. It all started when Jerry complained that Snuffles was too dumb. To shut him up, Rick gave the dog a helmet designed to boost his intelligence. The problem was that it worked a little too well. Snuffles began learning at an incredible rate, created upgraded versions of the helmet, and eventually developed intelligence far beyond that of any human. Before long, he had recruited other dogs, given them the same technology, and sparked a full-scale revolution. The dogs enslaved humanity and took control of the planet. However, when Snowball saw how dogs were treating humans, he realized they were repeating the exact same abuses they had once suffered themselves. By the end of the episode, he made an unexpected choice. He left Earth alongside the other intelligent dogs in search of a new home in another dimension where they could build a society of their own. When Morty arrives on the planet, he's reunited with his old friend Snowball, who immediately runs over and hugs him. After all, this is the first time they've seen each other since the events of Season 1. Morty is amazed by everything the dogs have accomplished in his absence. What started as a simple uprising has evolved into a fully developed civilization, complete with cities, advanced technology, and its own unique society. Suddenly, Morty is attacked by a strange creature with both canine and humanoid features. Confused, he asks what it is, and Snowball explains that they're called Mups, the pets of the dogs.
Hopefully that doesn't freak you out too much.
Oh, nope. I've seen a lot of stuff.
Good, because it would be weird if you were offended by it, since you had pets first.
Is there anything else we could visit or talk about?
Yes, good, of course.
The city, known as New Dog, features universities, advanced technology, and even upgraded versions of the suit Rick originally built for Snowball years ago. However, something about it immediately makes Morty uncomfortable. Dogs now own pets in much the same way humans own dogs. The situation becomes even more disturbing when you remember why Snowball left Earth in the first place. He promised not to repeat humanity's mistakes. Yet instead of breaking the cycle, it seems he recreated it entirely. Later, Snowball takes Morty to his residence, a massive mansion where they plan to spend some time catching up. The visit takes an unexpected turn, however, when Morty is attacked by several Mancors, the planet's native species whose genetic material was used to create the Mups.
Okay, Morty, I think you're getting the wrong impression. You're seeing a lot of physical deformity and selective breeding, and your mind is going to all kinds of places.
I mean, it's more that this wasn't quite the vacation
Titus, take Morty to the Mup facility, Show him how loved they are.
Hey, buddy! Okay, you don't have to crouch.
Meanwhile, Jerry attends his job interview. Unlike the insecure man we saw at the beginning of the episode, he now appears calm, confident, and completely self-assured. His answers are solid, his resume is impressive, and he carries himself with an unusual level of confidence. By this point, roughly 10% of his body has already been infested by the Flaxar worms, and the effects are becoming noticeable.
Jerry, I don't normally talk clients during interviews, but God, I'm just loving this laid-back attitude. Nip Slip Vodka. If we can convince them to hire us, we double our revenue. You free tonight? We're having dinner with their CEO. They need to hear this, Jerry, and they need to hear it from someone as confident as you.
Back at home, Space Beth discovers that Jerry has taken far more worms than he was supposed to. Combined with his extreme anxiety, the parasites have begun reproducing inside his body. Concerned, she explains that she'll try to contact her supplier and find a solution before the situation spirals completely out of control. Meanwhile, Morty visits a facility where Mups are bred and raised. There, he's shown an educational video explaining the entire reproduction and upbringing process. Although the dogs insist everything is ethical and cruelty-free, Morty quickly realizes the truth. Snowball has ended up doing exactly what humans did, only on an even larger scale. The revelation leaves him speechless and completely destroys any desire he had to remain on the planet. Later, while packing his things to return home, Snowball shows up and immediately understands what's happening. Morty has decided to leave, and even worse, he completely disapproves of the society the dogs have built.
So you're going to cancel me?
What? No!
So you're not gonna run and tell your grandfather I'm doing eugenics?
You're projecting so much specific shit onto me!
You think I'm racist?
Listen, I came here as your friend. That's how I want to leave.
Okay, just had a lot planned. Didn't even get to see our giant sprinkler.
Next time, okay?
Okay.
When Morty finally boards the transport that will take him home, the vehicle is intercepted. He manages to escape briefly, but is eventually captured by a group of Mancors who take him prisoner. At the same time, Space Beth drives the rest of the family to meet Sweet Marie, the worm supplier. By now, Jerry's body is nearly 40% infested with Flaxar worms. Marie initially appears willing to help, but it quickly becomes obvious that she has other plans. Fascinated by the sheer number of parasites living inside Jerry, she decides she wants them for herself. What begins as a negotiation soon turns into an ambush when Marie's men storm the room with orders to eliminate the entire Smith family. A desperate fight for survival breaks out. As expected, the Smiths manage to defeat Marie and her men. However, once the dust settles, they discover that Jerry is gone. Taking advantage of the chaos, he escaped on his own. During their search, the family finds evidence leading to a train car. The worms continue manipulating Jerry's behavior, pushing him into increasingly stressful situations so they can reproduce even faster. After analyzing the problem, they conclude that the place where Jerry is most likely to experience maximum stress is at dinner with a potential client from his new job. Elsewhere, Morty is brought before the leader of the Mancors. She reveals what she claims is the true history of the planet. According to her, the dogs enslaved the Mancors, altered their bodies through genetic experimentation, and separated countless families. Morty immediately makes it clear that he has no interest in becoming involved in wars, revolutions, or colonial conflicts. The conversation is suddenly interrupted when a massive canine military force launches an assault from both the air and the ground. Dozens of soldiers begin firing at the Mancors with one objective: recovering Morty. The battle leaves countless casualties, and the Mancor leader is mortally wounded. Before dying, she asks Morty to take command of the resistance, insisting that he is the only one capable of freeing her people from slavery. That very night, Morty devises a plan to infiltrate Snowball's mansion.
Snowball is mine. And again, just so happens both our agendas involve storming the palace, not your leader. No, just stop winking at me. Don't wink at each other either. I mean it, I'm not a Christ figure.
Meanwhile, Jerry finally arrives at dinner with his client. By this point, the infestation has spread through nearly 60% of his body. Far from feeling nervous, he now possesses an almost absurd level of confidence. He jokes about the client's baldness, speaks without any filter, and acts as if nothing could possibly go wrong. Surprisingly, the strategy works. The client is so impressed that he says he's ready to move forward with the deal. The only catch is that he still needs approval from a group of executives in New York. Without hesitating for a second, Jerry demands to be taken to meet them immediately. During the flight, Jerry continues pushing things further and further. In an effort to create even more stress and allow the worms to keep feeding and multiplying, he convinces his boss to bring along his pregnant wife. The situation completely falls apart when Jerry destroys the aircraft's control center. Then, with the plane on the verge of crashing, he decides that he will personally help deliver the baby that's about to be born.
It's time to push, Ellen. We're gonna crash while you create life, blood,
fear Darwinism.
I think I want to be your wife.
Me too!
At the same time, Morty's Mancor rebellion continues gaining momentum. What began as a resistance movement quickly turns into an all-out massacre. The rebels seize a Mup nursery, but the location provides no strategic advantage. The creatures are far too small to use weapons effectively and end up accidentally killing allied Mancors instead. Even so, each battle earns the rebels more resources. They salvage the robotic bodies of fallen dogs, taking their weapons and using them to continue advancing. Thanks to this, they eventually fight their way to Snowball's mansion. There, Morty comes face to face with his former pet in a battle he ultimately wins. With Snowball defeated, Morty drags him onto a balcony and threatens to kill him unless the fighting stops immediately. The warning works, and both sides agree to a temporary ceasefire. The problem arises when Morty makes it clear that he has no intention of becoming an emperor, a leader, or the new symbol of the revolution. Without someone willing to take control, the conflict erupts again almost immediately. Realizing the war is nowhere near over, Morty and Snowball retreat together into a reinforced safe room while chaos continues to consume the world outside. Meanwhile, Jerry and the others miraculously survive the plane crash. Rather than questioning any of his decisions, everyone is left amazed by what appears to be his confidence and leadership. With the infestation approaching critical levels, Jerry leads the group to the top of a tower. There, he performs one of the most ridiculous actions in the entire episode. He strips naked alongside the other two men and pushes himself to the absolute peak of anxiety and adrenaline. That moment marks 100% infestation. The Flaxar worms begin overflowing from his body, pouring out of his mouth in massive quantities and making it clear that the situation has reached a completely uncontrollable level. Right then, Rick, Beth, and Space Beth arrive to rescue him. However, when Rick learns that Jerry has actually landed a job, something unexpected happens. The worms suddenly become interested in him. It turns out that Rick had grown so accustomed to Jerry being unemployed that he was basically part of the household furniture. The idea of Jerry becoming a productive member of society creates a genuine source of anxiety for him. Despite everything, Rick manages to contain the crisis. He deploys a special capsule that transforms into a gigantic bubble capable of capturing every worm produced by Jerry. The result is an enormous stockpile of Flaxar parasites, an incredibly valuable commodity on the galactic black market. Meanwhile, Morty and Snowball use the shelter as an opportunity to finally talk things out and reconcile. Both acknowledge their mistakes and manage to rebuild part of the friendship they once shared. However, when they step outside, they're greeted by a devastating sight. The war is still raging, and both the dogs and the Mancors continue slaughtering one another. Shortly afterward, Rick arrives to pick Morty up. Seeing the condition of the planet, he's shocked by the scale of the destruction. Morty admits that he feels guilty about leaving everything behind in such a terrible state, especially considering that Snowball spent years building that civilization. In an attempt to solve the problem, Rick uses the captured Flaxar worms and distributes them among the planet's inhabitants. Thanks to their effects, the conflict finally comes to an end, and both species begin to calm down. With the crisis seemingly resolved, Morty receives one final piece of news before heading home. Against all odds, Jerry has officially landed the advertising job.
So it's all hands on deck this week.
Jerry! We're throwing darts at the interns. Get in here.
Yes, sir. Boy, I really set a weird bar for myself. Sorry, I gotta wrap this up, but